How is it going, everybody? This is Shane, the Rising Ram Picker, coming at you from Davenport, Iowa. Yes, I'm sourcing, I'm doing some videos, I'm shooting some content, and we're seeing what we can find. This video, I'm going to talk to you, and let's just get real, okay? This is something that's been weighing really heavy on my mind in the last couple days, even few weeks, even couple months. And that's, is thrift stores dead? Is Goodwill dead? I don't know, but I know that my prices are what they are back home. I know them, they're really high, and they're continuing to be high. And we're gonna look up here to see if it matches, and if it does, I'm gonna lay some knowledge down on you. But I think it's time, as resellers, we may have to change our business strategy. Start going to just pound stores or the Goodwill outlet, focusing less on regular thrift stores. Let's see what we can find out. You just have to ask yourself one question. What would you do for a Klondike bar? $8 for a record? Seriously? Is Goodwill dead? The prices are so high in here, you can't even touch anything to buy. I have one book. I used to be able to go into Goodwill and buy a whole cartload of stuff. Is Goodwill becoming dead? I don't know. That's a good question. Let's go investigate. Alright, you've seen those prices in that Goodwill. I'm sorry, but so I'm in Davenport, Iowa. The prices are what they are here, right? They're really high. What's funny is all my Goodwills back home in Illinois are all the same. They're all becoming really high. So the question I think a lot of people want answered is Goodwill good for sourcing anymore? And my answer is no. My answer is, you see a lot of these YouTubers that are going to Goodwill and paying $40 for video game systems, and they're paying up for a lot of items. There's no meat on the bone. Is it worth your time to make $20 when you have shipping and fees and all that, and you take all that out? I just don't think it's worth your time anymore. And I would rather be wholesaling items and selling them for a 30% profit than wasting gas to go to Goodwills to find stuff to make $20 on. So my question to this, my answer to this is, I don't think Goodwill is a viable place to source to make money. If I had to depend on Goodwill or thrift stores as part of my business solely on all my sales, I wouldn't make a lot of sales. I would not. Now, once winter hits, you'll be finding better stuff, But for me, clothing is the go-to in my area. And I think that's where a lot of people really fall on, is they find it hard to find an item to find a resell. And in your area, you just got to go with what's available in your area. And clothing is available in mine. But the problem is, here's the problem, is Goodwill's raising their costs. My Goodwills never used to be expensive. A year and a half ago, I could go to Goodwill and pull crazy stuff for super cheap. I could pull electronics for super cheap. I could pull video games for super cheap. I could do all that. Now they raised their prices triple, quadruple what they were, and there's no meat left on the bone. Eventually, I think that all the Goodwills will do the same thing, and they will all raise their prices across the board. A lot of mine send everything to online. So I think this will be happening in more and more Goodwills as time goes on. But is Goodwill dead? Not yet. But if they keep raising the prices, they will be. And what I mean by that is people are going to realize the value of a dollar eventually. People realize certain things when things get extreme, right? If Goodwill keeps raising their prices, it will get so extreme, people will realize, wait a minute, I could go to Target or Walmart and get this stuff cheaper, because some of the stuff in there, you could literally get it for probably the same price in a retail store. So my question to you is, how are you going to source when your Goodwill raises its prices? What are you going to do? What are you going to do to source products? Put it down in the comments if you have a good idea. I know what I am going to do, and I know what I have been doing, because my Goodwills have become so outrageous, you just can't find anything. And so when I first started reselling, back in like 2005 and 6, thrift stores were so cheap, it was ridiculous. And as well as like even 3-4 years ago, thrift stores were very, very cheap in my area and a lot of areas I went to. And now they're becoming so expensive. There's just, some of the stuff is cheaper than what you would buy it in the store, but not for selling or flipping it online. And the books in there were the only decent price thing, 88 cents. For a lot of books, I did scan one book and it was $3 in profit, and they had it for $3.88, and I put it back. I'm like, that's ridiculous. But eventually, that's why I got into Amazon. That's why I started selling books, is because I had to change my sourcing strategies to fight off the high prices at Goodwill and all my thrift stores. That's what I had to do. I was not finding stuff. And I know, here's the deal. Once I get everything out of my death pile listed, I am going to struggle completely at finding stuff. And I'm going to have to go back to sourcing more clothing, doing more wholesale. And this is just the dirty truth. Is Goodwill viable to source at anymore? Comments of what your thoughts are. For me, I don't think so, because here's the thing. 3, 4, or 5 years ago, you could go into Goodwill and there wasn't anything priced over $5 to $10. 10 was outrageous then. Now you're seeing stuff at $100, which I showed you. You're seeing stuff at $25, which I showed you. You're seeing stuff at $30. It's insane. Here's why I think Goodwill's going to die. In the next 5 years, they're going to be shutting down a lot more Goodwills. Here's why I think. People are going to realize the price differences eventually, all right? They're going to realize that, and they're going to stop shopping. Now, Goodwill and a lot of stores, I have heard people say they've asked Goodwill employees certain questions. Here's the thing. In any thrift store, all right, I firmly believe that about 30 to 40%, that's a low number, actually. This is a low freaking number. 30 to 40% of the people are resellers, okay? Or selling of some sort online, on Facebook. They're flipping it. 30 to 40%. Once you start jacking up the prices, less people are going to shop. way less people are going to shop. Once you start japping up the prices, all the resellers are going to stop shopping. They're just going to come in and buy like 2 or 3 things. That's what I did. But 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I was going in and buying an entire cartload. So I spent $11. And back in the day when I used to go to Goodwill, I would spend like $50 and have a whole cartload. So that just shows you, like, I'm even spending less, I'm getting less. When I got more, I would spend more. And this is the thing. The value of $1 hasn't changed. Goodwill's prices have changed, and they're changing fairly drastically. But when you think like 5 years ago, when you used to go into Goodwill and buy an entire cartload of stuff, you were still spending more money. Some of them I would spend $60, and I would have so much stuff, but I still spent $60. I bought four, maybe 5 things today for $11, and that's all I spent, $11. So when you start raising your prices and you start doing all this like Goodwill is, they're going to start seeing lower purchases, and people are going to be buying less. Their shelves are going to be stocked more. More stuff is going to be on the shelf, not being sold, taking up real estate that could be sold. So this is the thing. Eventually, it's going to get Goodwill, and it's going to bite them, and it's going to be hard. But when is that? I don't know. I'm not a storyteller. I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know. I just know that businesses that do this usually don't make it. And look at all the mall stores, Bergner's, Carson's, all them stores that are closing. That was what they did. They raised the prices on everything so high, and in the 90s, people would just buy everything. They were on a buying frenzy. It's not like that anymore. It's not. And Goodwill probably needs to get their story together.